biggest differences between outdoor field lacrosse and indoor box lacrosse is the use of cross checks. Because of the close proximity, players are allowed to use cross checks a lot more liberally. In true box lacrosse, you are allowed to play defense and cross check with a full stick length. For safety reasons, here in our performance box league, we are only going to go 1 foot apart. If it is more than 1 foot apart, we will call it a 2-minute roughing penalty. Now on ball, team in red has the ball, team in white's on defense. Team in white is allowed to cross check with the hands 1 foot apart, and he's allowed to use that cross check to help gain defensive position. He is allowed to keep moving and moving the player. One major safety piece and penalty piece is that if it is above the shoulder and it slides up for getting the head or neck, is illegal and is an automatic 2-minute roughing penalty. Play, a defensive player is allowed to use the 1 foot cross check between the hands to gain defensive position. Notice how the player is pushing. They are not allowed to grind and constantly cross check. That is a 2-minute interference penalty if it happens off ball. In indoor box lacrosse, the two-man game is the essence of any offense. It is because of this game that the pick calls and pick rules are different than field lacrosse. Picks are legal if they are in the front or on the side. Players that are setting the pick may also have a little bit of movement with their feet and lean into the pick and defensive player, which is usually called in outdoor field lacrosse. What is not allowed is any cross-checking or running into a player and body checking somebody. If that happens, it is a 2-minute interference penalty, not a turnover. Okay? In this first scenario, we are going to see a pick from the side by the red team, and you're going to see how they are able to move their feet a little bit to help shield their offensive player with the ball from the defender. Player setting a V-cut pick, and he's able to move a little bit to allow his teammate access to the goal. In this second situation, you're going to see the player come around, and get in front of the player, defensive player, and move his feet a little bit as well. Notice how the pick is also allowed movement with the arms for a little push. This is to allow protection of both players and that arm space so that no one gets hurt. Okay, because of the close proximity of box lacrosse, there is going to be man ball situations which we are going to try and avoid in our performance league for the safety of all players. We are going to have a rule that you must make an effort to go for loose balls. We do not want to see people going and blowing up people and not making effort for the ball. In this demonstration, we're going to see a 2-minute interference call, which will be a penalty that will be enforced if a player does not make an effort for a loose ball. Okay, because of the close proximity in box lacrosse, warding is allowed to some extent. Referees are looking to call the turnover if you are grabbing the opponent's stick. You may use your free hand to push away the stick or the body of an opposing player, but you cannot grab onto the player or the stick. Once again, it would be a turnover just like in field lacrosse. In box lacrosse, you have the walls, which is an added element to the game. For our safety reasons, we are not going to allow boarding into the walls here at the Wheaton Sports Pavilion. What we are allowed to do is we are allowed to use the wall as another defender to help turn an offensive player back. We will show you an example of proper use of the wall. We will also then show you an improper use of the wall where the defensive player is shoving or hitting the offensive player into the wall. If that happens and there is a boarding situation of being shoved into the wall, it is a 2-minute minor penalty. In our first example, which is correct, the team in the red has possession of the ball. The team in white is the defensive player. The team in white is going to end up using the boards as another defender to help turn back the offensive player. So he's able to physically turn them without making contact with the boards. Now, this is in contrast with the boarding call for a 2-minute minor penalty, where he is going to shove the offensive player into the board. That is a penalty, and that will be enforced. We've talked about a lot of 2-minute minor penalties, all of which are releasable. 5-minute major penalties, which are non-releasable, are going to be anything that is deemed by the officials to be unsafe or have an intent to injure another player. Anything that is not done within the course of play with the intent to play is going to be considered a 5-minute non-releasable major penalty.